Hi guys, so I am going to walk you through how to work out all of the problems on Unit 8 so that we're ready for our retake. Okay, so I separated these by learning target, so in case you just want to retake a specific learning target instead of all of it, then you can skip to that learning target. Okay, so learning target 1 was on scale factors. Okay. Remember, scale factors is like a multiple of thing. Am I changing the image by multiplying by something smaller than 1 or bigger than 1? And if you're multiplying it by something bigger than 1, then your image is going to get bigger. It's going to enlarge. And if you're multiplying by a number smaller than 1, then your image is going to get smaller, right? So for number 1, it says what is a scale factor from left to right? Okay, so from left to right, I see that my image is getting bigger. So that means that when I write my fraction, I'm going to use whatever is corresponding, so the 3 and the 1.5, but my bigger number has to be on the top. So that would be 1 or 3 over 1.5. That's it. If you can simplify the fraction, simplify the fraction. This one, you don't have to simplify it because that's going to give you a decimal. When you divide it in your actual calculator, if you plug it in and you get 3 divided by 1.5, you're going to end up getting a whole number, which is 2. Okay, most of the time, you are not going to get a whole number. Most of the time, you will just get a decimal, and that's okay. So once you divide it, you get a decimal. To turn it into a percent, you just multiply it by 100, and you get 200% here. That's all they're asking. So get a fraction, write it as a decimal, which means that you just have to plug it into your calculator and divide it, and then convert that to a percent. Okay? Now the next one, they give you picture dimensions that are 5 inches by 7, and you want a bigger scale factor of 120%. Now I know that this is a bigger scale factor just by looking at the percentage because it's greater than 1 whole. 1 whole would be 100%. So if you have something that's over 100%, then your image is going to get bigger. Now, when you're multiplying this out, though, you want to convert this percent into a decimal. So 120% as a decimal, you just divide it by 100 and you get 1.2. So the new dimensions means that I need to multiply my 5 inches by 1.2 and the 7 inches by 1.2. Okay, so if I go ahead and take my calculator, 5 times 1.2 will give you 6. 7 times 1.2 will give you 8.4. So my new dimensions would be 6 inches by 8.4 inches if my scale factor is 120%. For number 3, we're just getting ready for proportions. So I want you to give me a true statement of equivalent fractions. Okay, that means that I can multiply that fractions by whatever I want. Okay, so I'm going to multiply both of these by, 5. That's just a random number that I picked. So my equivalent fraction would be 15 over 20. Okay, so all you're doing is choosing your own scale factor. Like I am enlarging everything by 5, or I can pick a scale factor that's less than 1, which means that my numbers would be smaller than 3 over 4. All right, number 4, we are getting ready for proportions. Okay, the easiest way to do this is if you set up a proportion with the original stuff that they're talking about and the new stuff that they're talking about, right? So they're talking about a hoodie that you want to buy. It's on sale for 36% off, and you ended up paying only $20.88 for it. So you're trying to find the original price. So here, I'm actually going to erase this. My template, if you want to follow one, I'm looking for my original. My original dollar amount over my original percent equal to my new dollar amount over my new percent. Okay, and with proportions, you have to be careful. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters how you, like your second fraction matters. That order does matter. So if I put money on the top of the first fraction, money has to go on top of the second fraction. Okay, if you switch those up and put percent over your dollar amount, then you're going to get the wrong proportion. You're going to get the wrong answer when you cross multiply. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use that template. So my original dollar amount, I don't know. It says, what is the original price of the hoodie? That's my X. Okay, that's my variable. My original percent, you are always starting at one whole. Okay, one whole is 100% of something. Equal to my new dollar amount. Now it came out to $20.88 after the discount. Okay, so I'm going to write again, this is 100, and this new percent, it depends on the percent they give you. Now this says 36% off. That means that we have to subtract 136 to get whatever percent $20.88 is the actual percent. Okay, so 100 minus the 36 will give you 64. That is the new percent that I'm going to write on the bottom. Okay, so if it was, like if you had an example where you're getting a raise, right? Or you're enlarging a picture like you did above, that's 120%. Like you're going to add whatever percent they give you to 100 instead of subtracting it like we do here. Now you're just cross multiplying. So 64x is equal to 2088. Divide both sides by 64. Now it's just an algebra problem. So x is equal to, get my calculator. $32.63 if I round it. So the original price was $32.63, which makes sense, right? If I got a discount of 36% off, then my dollar amount, whatever my original one, should be more than that $20.88. So it has to make sense. All right. Next is learning target 2, which is just proportions, which you just saw in that last problem. Okay, so for learning target 2, in order for you to decide if two figures are similar, you need two things. You need that all of the angles have to be congruent, and the scale factor are the same. Okay, so sometimes you're going to be given sides and you have to figure out the scale factor. Sometimes you're just going to be given angles and you just talk about the angles. Okay, so for example, number 5, I have two triangles. The first one on the top is 80 degrees and 30 degrees. Well, I know I need to find this missing one, but I know that all triangles have to add up to 180 degrees, which means that this one inside has to be 70 degrees. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. If I do that, 180 minus both of these will give me 30 degrees left over. So if I look at these two triangles, even though they're kind of flipped over, they are all congruent. So that means that yes, they are similar because all angles are congruent, which means that they're similar. Okay, number 6, they don't give you angles, they give you sides. So I want to see if my scale factor is the same for every single side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match these up. I'm going to match up my smaller side with the smaller side here. And I'm going to go from left to right. So I'm going to do 6 over 4. Which gives me 1.5. Then I'm going to go the medium side with the medium side, so 7.5 over 5. And again, I'm going from left to right. So if you go from left to right in the first one, you have to go from left to right in the second one and in the third one. You can't just switch it up or you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, so that order matters. So 7.5 divided by 5 gives you 1.5 as well. Next one. Last one, 15 and 10. So 15 divided by 10 gives you 1.5, which means that they are all the same. So yes, they are similar because scale factors are equal. Okay. Now there's only 2 problems for learning target 2 because learning target 2 is just a whole bunch of problems on proportions. If you are able to match them up Remember, they have to be corresponding, just like I matched up my small side with the small side in each triangle, the medium side with the medium side, and the longer side with the long side. You're doing that for every single problem. As long as they are corresponding, then your proportions should be okay. All right, learning target 3, more proportions. Okay, so you have 2 different triangles here. Okay, if it helps, and I've been telling most students here, it might help to separate the 2 triangles. I have a small triangle here, and then the larger triangle around. Okay, so this smaller triangle, I know that this is x and this is 10. Now in the bigger triangle, I have 8 over here. Now this measurement is not just 12, it's the entire thing. So I have to add those 2. So this would be 12 plus 10, which is 22. Now you can write your proportion. Okay, and again, doesn't matter where you start. Oops. Doesn't matter where you start. So after this, I'm just picking a side. So I'm going to pick 8. 8 is proportional with x. It matches up with x because it's both the left side of the triangle. And 22 matches up with 10. Again, be careful. This is not the same. You don't want to do this. And I'm going to do a side note. 8 over x equal to 10 over 22 is not going to work. 8 over x has to be equal to 22 over 10 because I went from left to right. So if I start with the 8, which is on the left side, okay, which is on the bigger triangle, I have to start with the bigger triangle in my second fraction. Okay, now you're just cross multiplying. You get 22x is equal to 80. Divide both sides by 22. And x would be equal to 3.63. Okay, don't freak out if you see decimals here. Okay, decimals are okay. Most of these will be decimals, and that's okay. All right. Similar to number 8, we're going to find x and y, so we have 2 unknowns here. So you're going to do 2 different ways. You're going to solve for x, and then you're going to solve for y. Okay, so you're going to have 2 different proportions. Okay, so I know that, let's see, what am I given? This side, the second one is rotated, will match up, will correspond with 20 over or 8. Now for the next one, I want to see what matches up with x, because I'm solving for x first. So x matches up with 6. Since I started with the bigger triangle, x will go on top, 6 would go on the bottom, and then cross multiply. So I have 8x is equal to 120. Divide both sides by 8. X is equal to 15. Same thing for y. You can use the same fraction. So 20 over 8 were the only 2 known one in each triangle. So I can use that again. The only difference is that I don't want to use x anymore because I'm not solving for x. I already did that. I want to use y. And y matches up with 25. But be careful. If I started with the figure on the left, I need to start with the 25 on top, y on the bottom. Okay, if you don't do that, you're going to get the wrong answer. All right, so you get 20y, and then 8 times 25, times 25, excuse me, you get 200. Divide both sides by 20. Y is equal to 10. All right, last one in this section. Well, actually, we have 2 more. This one is probably one of the harder ones. Okay, you need to solve for x and y. What I would highly suggest is that you look at this similarity statement. They tell you what corresponds with what. Okay, so I'm going to draw these triangles. We're talking about the triangle on the bottom versus the triangle on the top. Okay, not the entire thing. So I'm going to draw those separately, just like I did before. And then I'm going to label these because that's really important because of this congruence statement, or not similarity statement, excuse me. So this was P as Q for the bigger one and Q